And that moment, I got an out-of-body experience. And when I went to the future, felt like I went through a time tunnel and I went to the future. And then I saw this, I ran into my mom's room. She was taking a nap. I woke her up. I said, Mom, I got this invitation. I went to heaven. I saw this God, like a man. It does not look like Buddha, does not look like... One day, actually, during the lunchtime, Jesus appeared himself to me. He went all the way, even he went to the communist society to find me. And then at that moment, he asked me, can you lay it all down? I cried for 5 days. Master Esther, have you ever thought of going back to Japan to plant a church? So we're like, wow, everything pointed to Japan. God loves Japan so much, and he has not forgotten Japan. So we knew the revival is now.
So I heard that you had an experience where you died once and you came back to life. Can you share that experience with us?
Hi, my name is Esther Morishita. So I came from the mainland China, Guangzhou, the city. My family, we are like working for government, like an army kind of like tradition family. And it's really hard for the gospel to come to my family easily. And so when I was 6 years old, I never heard about God or anything before. And then one day I saw, on the way to nursery school, I saw a car accident and somebody just died there during this accident. And I suddenly just got this curiosity in my heart coming up, the question like, if that person is dying, where will he go after he's dead? And then it kept pondering in my heart for many weeks, actually. And then I saw there's some Chinese culture like worshipping ancestors, temples like Buddhist and Kuan Yin and all these different gods. Then I was like, if there is one God, who is the ultimate God in the world, then if he exists, I will believe in that person, that God. And then one day, actually, during the lunchtime, I got into like a supernatural experience. Jesus appeared himself to me. He took me to heaven. I went through all the clouds. I went to an open heaven place. I saw this man dressed in white robe with all the lights just coming to me. And he said, Wei Wei, that is my family nickname that only my family knows. So he even called me by my name. He said, Wei Wei, come, let me show you how you were born. And then I was so excited as a 6-year-old girl. I was like passing him my hand, looking into his face with all the bright lights. I never encountered such love before. And it just like waterfall, like rushing and crushing. All my fears are like a chains that just broken off. And my first time felt freedom. And that was a supernatural encounter that I will never forget. And when I came back to the reality, I woke up, I heard this audible voice, like a father's voice, very deep and loving. He said like, Wei Wei, in the future, you are going to do a big thing for my kingdom. And that moment, when I was 6 years old, I was so excited. I don't know what does he mean by kingdom and what name is he called. So I ran into my mom's room. She was taking a nap. I woke her up. I said, Mom, I got this invitation. I went to heaven. I saw this God, like a man. It does not look like Buddha, does not look like all other animals, or not look like the ancestors, like kind of person. like who is he? He got all the power, like all the authorities that heaven listened to him, And she said, maybe you met the Shangdi, she said in Chinese, so which means the God above all gods. So I was like, wow. Got my curiosity right there too. Like, I'm like, okay, what should I do? You know, like we are just so amazed, and my mom's still in her thinking because she was too surprised that me, like a little girl, encountered such a big thing, and she never told me anything about religion that much that time. So it was my first ever encounter in the mainland China. And then when I was in the middle school, I went into a slight depression. I couldn't have facial expression for 3 months. So I tried everything. I tried to think positive. I tried to go to the psychologist to maybe consult with them. And they gave me some medicine, but then it's all like temporary thing. And it never really healed me. And so still like living in the boarding school, middle school time, one night I just felt like I fed up with this. I fed up with all this trying. But I remember that dream when I was 6. So I called upon his name, even though I don't know who he is. But I call him Papa God. I said, Papa God, help me. Help me. And that moment, there is a supernatural power, like a force, came into my heart. And my heart was like so dry, and suddenly it became full again, and all the tears just came out. And I felt that warmth, felt that peace, felt that joy again, like how I was encountering him in heaven. And I felt that moment, all the oppression just gone, left me immediately. So the next day morning, I can finally have smile back to my face again. I can finally have a joy that marks my life. So people see me, they say, oh, Esther, the joyful one. So since then, the joy just like really obvious in my life, and the childlikeness that I carry. And then it's so funny, like all this process, he didn't tell me exactly his name, right? Like he did not just immediately call me to a Chinese underground churches or any church-related things growing up. So when I was 18, I went to England, London. I did London College of Fashion, a fashion school. And then during that time, actually, I got 2 really good friends. They're from Singapore and Japan. And that time, they approached me and they shared the gospel with me, and they took me to their church. And so amazingly, when I first time visited that church, the tears, when they were worshiping Jesus, the tears just came out of my eyes, like again and again, felt the warmth, like the things that I felt when I was in the middle school and 6 years old. And I can't believe like this power just, I don't know how to describe it at that moment. But I just feel all my anxiety just gone. And the stress about the school, everything like competition, when that fashion school is like one of the top school in the world. And people want to go to study this fashion design or want to have your own brand. And they would love to go to that school because that was like the fashion houses will hunt those graduate students. And so the competitive is so hard. Like people strive for perfection, strive for the next idea, strive for being unique and looking for identity and giving answers about identities. But it was still so empty. So that moment, my friend just reached me out. He said like, you know, I want you to know God is love. God is love. And I want to invite you to my church. Like along the way, I just keep being invited back to the church, the England church. And then I went through the Alpha course that time. And then I started to read my Bible. I remember that moment when I opened the Bible and Jesus' transfiguration on the mount. When I was reading that chapter in Matthew, all of a sudden, all my memories came back. All those times that how God was encountering me in different moments, pockets, those memories, bits by bits came back. And I was like, wow, this is the God that I was having a relationship or like just like encounter with. Like his name's Jesus. I finally found out. So I got such a joy. I felt there's a joy of salvation that in my life. And he went all the way. Even he went to the communist society to find me. He went all the way just to look for a lost person that strive for life, strive for excellence, strive for perfection, and strive for all this, the elites of the world, like that elites culture, like that was so toxicated actually. But that he still called me beloved. He still called me home. So from that moment, I was totally like gave my life to Jesus when I was 18. And after that, I think after my BA in fashion school, I got into MA actually. I got into Central St. Martin, this school as well. And I worked for Burberry for a while, and they considering really like hire me for long term. But just at this moment, God started to talk to me again. He said, lay it all down, Esther. Say goodbye to London. Come back to China and receive your calling. I was like, what? I can't believe I spent 5 years in London. I knew all my friends. First time I encountered faith, growing in the church, planting in my spiritual family. And I need to give it all up. Plus, I got into the best top school doing MA and can do something greater in my mind, something greater, okay? And then at that moment, he asked me, can you lay it all down? Can you lay it all down just to follow my voice? So, the natural being inside of me, I cried for 5 days. I cried for 5 days. And then, I told my small group leader, I told my spiritual brother, my covering in my London church, because I really love them. They are really good church, rooted in the word, rooted, open for the Holy Spirit. I love them. I love this family. But I have to say goodbye and maybe just see you later, and then I went back to Guangzhou, my city. And then people keep asking me, what are you going to do now? You came back to China, you got all this background, you can succeed, you can succeed in what your dream is having, your dream for so many years, you could succeed. And then I'm like, yeah, but something is bigger than my success. So I felt like there's some greater and more powerful calling that God has for me. So I just said, well, I was just seeking the Lord. I told them I'm seeking the Lord. And of course, for some of my relatives, they don't understand because they don't know God. But they really have grace. They know my life. I exactly know what I want, and they're okay. Unseen. In other words, they know I wouldn't go wrong with my life, that kind of thing. So I was just seeking the Lord and went to prayer meetings, going to that time the 3 Self churches in China, the government approved churches. So I don't know some underground because I never went to church in China before. So it's kind of like a reverse culture shock. When I came back, I need to get used to the nation that I once was raised and now having a faith in this nation, living as a Christian. And then 10 months, then long story short, I got another out-of-body experience. After one time prayer meeting, because I'm seeking God for a clear direction. I don't want just you just do a thing and then see, but I felt like I needed to know, because I gave up so much that I needed an answer from God. like, please tell me the blueprint, please, God. So you might watching this video, you might also seeking for God's direction for your life, or you might seeking for a destiny for so long, but you didn't know a clear answer yet. But that time, I was like fasting and also praying, and I'm really like pressing in. Like my heart really has eager to know. And you know, when we ask, He will answer. And that moment, I got an out-of-body experience. And when I went to the future, felt like I went through a time tunnel, and I went to the future. And then I saw this open stadium filled with people, and they with their little like glows like waiting in with the anticipation. And there was like a light, like a spotlight was on, and me and my worship team was releasing the glory of God, like the song, the prophetic songs, like just singing. And that moment, Spirit of God just like baptizing people. And people like feeling they saw something greater, like they are adoring Jesus, but they just can't wait, but they just cry out to Him. And that moment, the live broadcasting team reporting this stadium event to every family's monitor. So a lot of people got to witness that moment, and the great harvest started. The greater harvest. I don't know how to say the end time glorious harvest is happening. So I was like, wow. After seeing this vision, I came back to my real life, and God delivered me immediately after that visitation out of my little thinking. He delivered me from thinking myself as small, as insignificant. He just delivered me from that kind of mindset. Maybe those of you are watching this video and you grew up in Asia, you might think of yourself like low self-esteem, or you think maybe you just cannot match up or measure up or not enough. But that moment when I encountered God Himself, and He released my destiny and identity, and He delivered me Himself out of that fear and just thinking myself insignificant. He said like, Esther, you need to remember you are significant because I saved you. I called you mine. You are significant. And that moment I'm like, okay, I surrender. Let me know what can I do? Because I never went to a music college, you know? I never learned a proper instrument or like vocal training for a long time. You know, I never really have my own album or EP, you know, those musicians out there. I know you're great. But I never done something like that. So this kind of big scale kind of like crusade, it's kind of like scare me, you know, like just this dream definitely not from myself. Like if that was from myself, I wouldn't dream like that big. Like that's just like out of my comfort zone to the max. And then after that, I just fast forward, I went to America. Then I went to a different ministry school. Then I end up in Bethel as well. And then that's where I met my husband, Masa, in that school. So that time we were doing outreaches, and our heart just like burning for Asia. Like even though we got some offers to stay in America, like people might extend their invitation, like to do like different stuff in America. But my heart really is burning for Asia. So I said, like, maybe I should still go back to Asia to see what door will God open. And then Masa is the only one that I taught so far in the school that also has a vision for the great harvest in Asia. And this harvest movement and also the stadium-related expression. Like he's the only one that we talk about this with. And then we came back to Asia. We were still good friends that time. And I hosted a mission trip in China, the mainland. We went to 5 cities. We went to equip the churches, and we preached the gospel, signs and wonders breaking out, people got healed, blind eyes open, lame walked, and just so many things happening in China. And then God also opened our heart for each other during that trip. Then we came together very fast also after those confirmations. So 5 days after our wedding in 2018, we went to Awakening Europe. And that's where our mothership is, and our mother ministry and church in Germany. And we believe God has really revived this continent of Europe. And also He will put this fire back to Asia as well. And we are raising up these pioneer leaders to really carry this gospel in Asia and being a trigger for the movement. Yeah, so we really believe so. And we had so many confirmation talking about I love Tokyo, Japan. Everywhere we went, we saw that sign within a month. And after that, our leader, Ben, also knocked at our door. He came in, he said, Master Esther, have you ever thought of going back to Japan to plant a church? So we're like, wow, everything pointed to Japan. God loves Japan so much, and He has not forgotten Japan. So we knew the revival is now. We knew God wants to awaken the bride, the Japanese bride. And that's the time we came back 2019. In August, we planted this church, Awakening Tokyo, and our ministry is called Awakening Asia. So this is everything about me in a nutshell. Well, I just feel like a lot of glorious testimonies to tell. Because when we are weak, when we're feeling not enough, but He is strong. Like He is the one who turned the impossible into possible. And He is the one giving Masa and I the strategies and also like leaders to help us. Those great leaders that we can consult with and walk with together. And they being our covering, and things happen, during the COVID, like the Lord just adding people to us. Like every month seems there's a baptism and just like a ripple effect, like momentum is building up. And at the beginning, our people kind of afraid of preaching the gospel, like boldly to their friends or colleagues or even publicly preaching. But then after these few years together and our Awakening Asia School of Ministry equipped them, and now they can boldly preaching at Ueno Park, at the station, Shibuya Crossing. So it's like so many Japanese lovers of God. They're just normal people like you and I. But it's this extraordinary God that make us extraordinary, like great, His masterpiece. And we just saw His hands in this, and lots of people coming. Right now we have nearly like 80 people in our place, doing school, doing church, leading them to a mission trip. We just finished a wonderful mission trip in Hong Kong. And more than 80 people gave their lives to Jesus. And 70 out of these 80 are the youth from the middle school and high school. So we really see God's raising up the next generation through this as well. And I want to let you know, they are all from our first year school students going there and being the light in the darkness, preaching Jesus. Even though some of them couldn't even speak English, but they just preach in Japanese. But then people listen and God used them there. Like, I just amazed to see like Japan also sending out missionaries to really like help equip different churches and nations in Asia as well. So we want to see even more. And that's why we believe like planting churches is actually very effective to really influence the culture of the society. because we will encounter so many leaders, so many people coming from the unsaved world to be saved, to carry the hope of the glory.
So I heard that you had an experience where you died once and you came back to life. Can you share that experience with us?
So during the time I was in Bethel the last year of my BSSM experience, I got an anaphylactic shock allergy actually. And then it was really pretty intense that time. I didn't know it will cost my life because of that. And then I just went to the clinic, nearby, and then all my hives breaking out from my body. And I felt a bit like weak, and not just a bit, very weak in my body. I feel like breathing kind of like heavily. And then when I went to the clinic, and then the nurse came over, and she checked my everything. She checked my pulse, she checked my breathing, heartbeat, and she read that numbers, and she was so shocked. She went out to call the doctor to come in. So when the doctor came into the room, and he called my name, he said, "Miss, can you hear me?" And then I said, "I can hear you, but I can't see you now." Like I got blacked out. Like that vision is like from blur to red to net, and then to black. Like I got completely blacked out, and all of a sudden I went into a tunnel. My spirit went to a tunnel, like the black tunnel. Like I felt like I'm floating. That moment I was floating with some same time people. I felt like there's some companies there, but I couldn't see a thing. But I felt so peaceful, and I felt like it's floating, and then I felt like nearly there's a glimpse like of light coming. Like I felt like it kind of like flowed to the end, but then the lightning like immediately shoot at me, like that kind of lightning like shoot at me. So I came back. I opened my eyes, and then the doctors and the nurse are shocked. And then they're like, "What?" And then the ambulance just came, because I went to the clinic, and then the ambulance came, and that guy came in and said, "Who is the patient?" And then they said, "Oh, it's this lady here." And he said, "How come she's awake? Did you put the EpiPen on her?" And they said, "Not yet, still like in my hand." And then, "Did you do the defibrillator already?" And they say, "Still charging." So, and then he was so confused, like, how come she came back? Like, how come she awake then? And then those doctors and nurses, they just like, "Oh, wait a minute. Are you the student from that like theology school on the mountain, like on the hill?" Like they couldn't explain why I was awake, but they felt like maybe I'm a Christian, And then I came back. I'm like, so I said, "What happened to me?" Then I was still confused, because I didn't know that is life-threatening. And then I was so confused. I said, "What happened to me?" And they said, "Actually, Miss, you got no conscience for 30 seconds, and you actually 10 seconds without your breath." That's the details they can tell me. And then that guy really rushed himself to drive me to a bigger hospital, the ambulance. And I got sent to the ER room, and all like the little singular light, those lights, and then one bed, single bed in the middle, all the knives like was ready. I'm like, so many knives, and I counted around the room, around like 13 people in the room waiting for me. And then they were like talking to each other. "Why she's awake?" And then they say, the doctor said like, "Oh, can I just like final check on you, like about your breathing and your heartbeat and everything?" I'm like, "Okay." So they check in that ER room, and then he said, "So strange. The reading is fine." And he said like, "Okay, maybe you can go to an observation room first for 4 hours. If during these 4 hours you have nothing, then we can release you home." So I didn't even know I went through all this in such a short second. But finally, during that 4 hours, they kept, like my friends actually sent me to the hospital too. And she told me what was happening. Like I was having like those like shocked, and then like just gone. And she was praying in tongues, asking the school to pray for me. And from that time on, I just felt God's hands is really on my life, and He's sovereign. He's so sovereign. Like, He's defeated the death. Like, He's the one defeated the death. And then there's nothing can hold us back anymore. So from that point on, I felt like my life just has nothing to compromise. If there's some fear in me, like, I'm just keep going. You know, like, even death, that He can took me back to life. And how much more we can do together with Him. So I felt the supernatural courage or just this like boldness just come to my life since that event, like that particular resurrected experience in the tunnel with Him. You know, like, I just felt like, yeah, my life is never mine anymore. Like, it just completely, I need to live for Jesus. Like, my life was once mine, but now it's no longer me living, but Jesus live inside of me.
When you went to heaven, right?
Yes.
That experience. Can you share some more about that when you were 6 and you were taken? So was it a dream, like you went to sleep and then you were taken up?
Yeah, it's like a half sleeping, half awakening moment. So it's like a little like I don't know how to say that. Like, it's not completely sleeping. I have awareness, but I still went into that like a trance. I felt like suddenly there's a huge power. Like, I felt my spirit inside got sucked out, like, and went into like going through a lot of clouds. Like, I felt like going to another realm. I thought it's like a very fast elevator, even faster, like a rocket, like very fast. Like, and then I was there, like, in like an open heaven.
Was it like grassy plain?
No, it's like clouds, like sea of clouds. And then with all the lights, with all the lights like shining. I saw a really pure white place, like very bright. And then I saw Jesus Himself like walking towards me. So it's like a single focus on Him.
Can you talk to us about the spiritual atmosphere in Japan, specifically regarding their acceptance or openness to Jesus in your experience?
Yeah, like to my experience, I think actually they are very open. Right now, I'm not sure about the older generation, but when we talk to those like 20代,30代, like 20s, 30s, and 40s, even 40s, they're very open. Like, even talk to some youth, like, they're very open about Jesus. And when we share Jesus with them, they will ask us some questions as well. So it's more like an interactive rather than a closed door completely. But sometimes people do ask us, who is Jesus? So some people really don't have even that concept about Jesus.
Where can people find you online if they want to reach out and also to find the church as well?
So you can follow my Instagram, Beloved Esther Molly, and our church Instagram is called Awakening Asia. And then you can come to like our church here in Ueno. So we have the details under the bio of our Awakening Asia Instagram. So you can click that to our website and you will see everything. Our church service is from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. here in this Ueno.